Welcome to the RAG Podcast, the weekly show where I interview recruitment owners who are prepared to tell their unique story of growth. This is all in aid of helping future and existing recruitment businesses who are looking to do similar things. Now, growth means different things to different people. So by tuning in every week, you're no doubt going to find information that's relevant to you. On the first episode of the new season, I've brought back one of, if not the most talked about guests I've ever had, Tom Glanfield. Tom, the founder of LHi Group, Lawrence Harvey was the original brand, was on the show in early 2020 where he told the story of his growth and how he was looking to exit in the future. Since then, Tom has successfully exited the business. He got an 8 times multiplier on a huge EBITDA of over 10 million, so you can imagine how big the exit was. And in this episode, we talk about his life. What was it like exiting a business for such a huge amount of money? What has he done with the money? How does he now spend his time? What has he enjoyed? What hasn't he enjoyed? We talk about his approach to living healthfully, his balance with enjoying life, his approach to being a father and the things he's missed out on while he was building the business, but now how he's dedicated and he's not going to do it again. And we give some words of wisdom to you, founders of current and future recruitment companies. Tom is charismatic, he's interesting, he's living the life that so many of us work so hard to get. So I hope you enjoy this. I hope you feel inspired and entertained at the same time. Without further ado, Tom, welcome back to the RAG Podcast.
Hey Sean, good to be back.
I know, I haven't seen you since the last one.
I know, I think it's about the 4th time I've actually been north of London as well.
Really?
So, yeah, I just panic on the way here because
oxygen levels go a bit.
Lauren said, how far away? I said 8 minutes because I'm looking at Waze and I had that slight panic where you just type something into your sat nav, don't actually look where it is on the map, just go.
So you could have got it wrong.
I could actually be like 10 miles the wrong direction. No, like 10 hours the wrong direction.
Mate, well, thanks for coming to Sheffield. And, this season is all about, this is the first episode of the season.
Yeah.
Since I recorded with you in 2019, so a bit of what happened to us is, I think you were like one of the last 10 episodes I did. Sorry, 2020, January 2020, I think it was. That was when the pandemic hit. And then we basically, our office in London was broken into, our kit was stolen.
What,
and then
off the back of my episode?
No. So off the back of the pandemic, everyone shut their offices and people went out and started stealing shit. So they stole all of our equipment. I just went remote with it because I was at home, and then I've literally never gone back to recording face-to-face since.
Wow.
So this is the first day, first episode, and you're the guy I wanted to get back.
In a random hotel in
Sheffield. This is my town.
I know. Could be in Bristol.
He's literally just been in the car. Just take it.
It's like Forrest Gump. I'm just going to go where it takes me.
Well, look, mate, I'm pleased you made the...
It's good to see you. And it's I like the hair look as well.
Thanks, mate. I had a flat cap. Yeah. I'm thinking, do I grow it back, actually? But I don't know. I've had it for about 5 months. It's so aerodynamic.
Yeah. Keep it.
Because it's grey from behind. I think from the front, because of the hairline, and these guys are watching me, the video guys, it looks quite a young, cool guy's cut. But from the back, I just like an old man.
Yeah, no, it's a young grey because you got the hairline.
Yeah, but you can't see that at the back. So sometimes I see photos at the back, I'm like, that's just an old shit. It's me.
I used to keep mine long because I'm just starting to get some...
No. Well, Tom, look, I'm pretty sure most people listening know who you are, but if they don't, just give us a quick, 30-second, who are you, bird's eye view of you and your story, and then we're going to go back and tell the story from our last interview.
Yeah, well, in a nutshell, I'm Tom Glanfield. I started a company called Lawrence Harvey with a graduate loan when I was 23, I think. I grew it into a group of companies with no external funding, so purely organically grown, to Lawrence Harvey, Harper House, and Piper Maddox and Sideway under a group called LHi Group.
Yeah.
Grew it to, I think, on sale, all the way through to sale, 450 staff, 9 offices globally across America, Germany, and UK. And then we went for a sale, actually pretty well 2 or 3 years after we last met. So I think I was just stepping away from it at that point. And now I'm a founder, step totally away from the business. I do one day for a month doing a board meeting and catch-ups. That's about my involvement in that.
So going back to
early 2020.
Yeah.
The reason I was so interested in bringing you in was because if we listen back to that episode, you were pretty much about to step away. And I remember offline, you were like, yeah, I'm not doing that much anymore. And you were already talking about your Ironmans and your life outside of it.
Yeah.
But then the next time we spoke was I quickly phoned you like fucking second week of March. I was like, mate, what's going on here? What are you? I was ringing everyone I knew and you were like, Sean, I can't really speak because I'm back on the tools, like fixing shit. And we didn't even have laptops for everyone. And so the COVID actually, I got the sense pulled you back into a role or a business that you were mentally checking out of. So can you take us back to that time you can remember?
Yeah, kind of and not. So just when I saw you, COVID was literally hitting. In fact, I actually remember because when you interviewed me, I was just come back from a holiday from, I think, the Canary Islands. And I'd first started seeing people
you mentioned it.
with face masks on the plane. It's a bit like World War Z and first seeing a zombie running around the back. I think, what's that? But it was just starting to kick off. And so we didn't really know, obviously, the scale of what was about to happen. And I just really stepped away. I promoted Jim at that time. I think I just promoted him to CEO.
Yep.
And I stepped away as founder. And then COVID happened. And I think we all kind of panicked a bit in terms of like, yeah, what's going on here? And I felt like I was kind of going back in. But in a kind of way, I was the one that actually kind of stopped myself and let Jim, it's his time to actually really shine as a CEO. It's like one of our biggest challenges. And I didn't want to take anything away from him, try and overrule him, any decisions. Yeah. And Jim made some fantastic decisions over COVID. We, as a company, I think we were one of the few companies that didn't lose any staff. We didn't let go of anyone. We retained the whole workforce, basically. And even bonuses, instead of cutting salaries or cutting bonuses, we held them back to help cash flow. But we kind of like Dumb and Dumber, gave them all an IOU saying we will pay these back as we grow again after this pandemic's gone through. Yeah. So anything that we held back, I think, is about 30% of bonuses to then repay them back on top of what bonuses they got to make sure they never lost a penny over that period. And I think that's where, as a business, it was a really good decision. We've got a lot of staff loyalty and trust on the back that we already had abundance of anyway, I think. I think Jim handled it fantastically and the whole board.
What about for you though? Because like I say, there was an exit plan, a revenue number, everything's probably on track. And then suddenly it turned out, I imagine, because of the hockey stick, it probably turned out quite good for you. But at the time,
we had a real plan as we were heading towards an event on the kind of EBIT numbers we wanted to hit. We were targeting at sort of 5 to 6 million EBIT. And it took a dip during COVID. But we knew that if we maintained the GP and the headcount, that it would just be a dip with a bigger hockey stick.
Yeah, and it was a mega hockey stick, wasn't it?
So yeah, and then, like I say, I think we were one of the few firms that, I think every firm jumped up after COVID, but then what happened was the firms that let go of a lot of their staff couldn't cope with because as you know, it's difficult to find good recruiters. It takes a long time to nurture people, find them, and we had everyone just ready to go, and then we could grow even further. So we actually went from a circa 3 million EBIT just during COVID to 10 million just after COVID, and that's when we did the event. So,
how did you feel though, personally, sat there, like I say, mentally checking out? Now you've seen, did you fear that perhaps all the work that you'd done was about to come crashing down?
I think there was that slight fear. I've always been a very positive thinker, and I always believe it's going to be a dip. We're going to come through it. You just got to hold your nerve. And even I was nervous of it, because when you're coming so close to an event, you're like, oh my God, I don't want to just derail it right now, all that work, and I've just let go of the reins as well. But I think, in emails to me before this podcast, you asked about your values in the business and things like that. And I think one of the biggest things that we've done at LHi is a real sense of trust in the team. And And even in a situation like that, I've put Jim in charge, and I've got to trust him. If I interfere too much or take power away from him, that's going to create distrust, and that's going to cascade down the business.
Right.
So I really trusted my own decision and identifying as the best person to take over. Now he's going to make the best decision. But then it's all come good, and we did the event.
So you did the event at a 10 million EBIT rather than a 4 to 6.
10 million EBIT.
So that for you meant much bigger.
Yeah, it was a big number, and we did an employee ownership trust, which not many have done in the industry, which is a fantastically tax efficient way of doing it. And I had actually given out 50% of the business to staff, and it was quite a weird day because I think when I got that first lump sum in the bank, I think. In your head, you're always thinking, this is going to be like one of the best days of my life.
I always want to know, what's it actually like?
It's kind of like, I mean, it's more of a relief that the money's gone there. But this is going to sound so cheesy, and everyone's going to listen to this, going to roll their eyes, going, oh my God, you just say this for votes or whatever. But the best feeling, without doubt, was all the messages I got from staff. And I still got loads saved in my phone, all in a little folder, and photos of them all. And it was just this money's changed my life. I got divorced, and this has allowed me to get thank you so much, and thank you for what you've done, and thanks for your generosity and giving equity. All these amazing team messages. As a business, we all did it as a team, and I think I gave out 50% of the business. We got an 8+ multiple on sale, and so everyone got a significant amount of money. I mean,
how does a trust work? Because isn't that a different way of it?
So that's selling to a trust which is effectively based in Jersey, and then it becomes owned by the staff. So effectively,
do you get the capital?
Effectively, I sold the business to the staff. We all retained 10% in the company. And our money is we got a kind of third up front, lent the rest back as loan notes, and then that gets paid out over time. So effectively, it's like an MBA. The company kind of bought it off me.
Yeah.
But what I love about that is when I was looking at selling, we were looking at private equity firms, we were looking at all different ways of selling and things like that. Even a potential float in the future or whatever. But I'd never come across the employee ownership trust. And the more I looked into it, the more I liked it. Because, again, the trust thing, I didn't trust a private equity firm, the taking over the firm. And I've always been very protective of staff and had their backs and things like that. I think private equity firms tend to be numbers guys. So I just make cold, callous decisions. Whilst the staff effectively inheriting the business and getting a payout.
So where does the money come from, though?
Effectively the bank. So it's like remortgaging a property. So it's effectively HSBC funded it. And we took the money, paid it out to me and staff and everyone, and then used some for working capital.
And then you get an interest based on?
And on the loan notes, everyone got a really good interest based on that. So anything they haven't got yet, they're accruing interest in the company. So it's like having a big piggy bank as well. But it's kind of I've got young kids, but I haven't seen them graduate yet, and hopefully get to university. Probably won't in my brains. But hopefully, they get to that. It's like the feeling I would imagine as seeing your kids graduate from university and then get a trust fund at the end of it. Without sounding arrogant in any way, it all kind of went exactly as planned, perfectly. As in, when I spoke to you last, it was that perfect time where I was stepping away, but that was all part of the plan to demonstrate the company's running without me.
To get the value.
But also for the staff to believe they can run it without me. And it turns out that they're doing a really good job. I mean, even recently, I think I've been to a lot of firms since those couple of years after COVID, and it has been a tough couple of years in the industry. But we're still looking to have grown by about 30% in EBIT since that sale. We're still kind of trending up towards 30 million EBIT.
Wow.
So as a business, I think, we've always outperformed the market, been strong and steady, got a really good workforce. We're multi-branded, multinational, and just got a great team.
So you've got the loan notes paying you back now, so it's almost like a salary from that.
Yeah,
you lump sum, you get the loan notes, and then you've still got equity as well that's accruing.
Yeah,
so it's an amazing deal, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you're not, even though you've got the money, you've also got income. Yeah, and both.
And it feels like a family. The business, we're also very well connected. People did different things with their money, like bought boats or houses or whatever, and we're still visiting each other. I'm going to a wedding next year for my American MD next year, and been to weddings of all my directors. It's great. It's a great feeling when I hopefully get married again one day. They'll all be there too.
What has gone on then? So I know you've stepped back and you, like I say, do 1 day a month. So what's driving you to get up in the morning? What do you get? I see your Instagram, right? It looks so action packed. So I got a vibe of it. But what has, since you've made, I know you've always had good cash and you've been doing fun things.
Yeah.
So I suppose, in fact, let me rephrase the question to be clearer. Has selling the business actually made a big difference? Because you already look like living a bit of a dream. You're already flying around, doing Ironmans, going to festivals.
I would say,
has it made any difference having that big lump?
It's a very good question. So, and I'm probably going to say a few things which go against the grain.
Cool. Always welcome.
Sure you'll love.
Yeah.
But just to start off with, like, when I started the business, I've always loved life. Like, I've got quite a keen sense of adventure, like new things, pushing boundaries a bit, and having freedom to be creative. But I come from a family where my parents went to private school. I've got a lot of friends who went to private school and their kids all go to private schools. But my parents went down the route of, my dad's a social worker, my mum's a nurse. They didn't have much cash themselves. I didn't go to private school myself. When I left school, I got given £1,000 and that was it. Like I said, go out to the world and do your thing. So I didn't have a kind of family nest egg that I was going to fall back on. But all my friends who I hung out with, my parents' side, were kind of skiing and sailing and doing these different things, and which I really wanted to do. And it quickly dawned on me that I'm only going to be able to get that one day by making it myself. I have to make it happen. And there's almost a fear of failure as well. So probably driving me to then open my own thing and take a risk. So when I opened LHi, it quickly dawned on me that in recruitment you got two modes of, you got two ways of going. You can be a lone recruiter where you can make good money. Probably not much different if you were working in a business. But you got good money. You can be in charge of your own time and what you do, and have some great flexibility. But it's quite a lonely existence.
I've got clients talking about that. Right?
You don't really have stress. You don't really have stress. But I've got friends who have done that, and they've been lone recruiters for several years, and they kind of laughed at me when I started LHi because I had all the stress of managing and taking on staff and taking offices and debt and everything that goes with scaling a business. But you can't really go on holiday and relax. You're always on. If you get ill or get an injury, there's no one to cover you. It's, without sounding too old, there's no kind of future retirement plan. You can't really sell a business where it's just you. So you've got that option, or the other option is to scale. And if you're going to scale the business, it's take a big deep breath and go for it. It's going to be full on. And I love life, but I made a mental decision that if I'm scaling this, I'm going to be full tilt for the next 10 years or so. And I was for 15 years, where I didn't do everything you said. I didn't do Ironmans, didn't do triathlons, I hardly did any exercise. I had very little work-life balance. And people say to me about work-life balance, and I see some firms where someone runs a firm and they have that work-life balance, but it's quite hard to really excel and grow something in such a competitive field if you're not full tilt.
Yeah.
But you can't be, when I say full tilt, I listened to a podcast the other day, I think on the Marines say, you got 3 modes, you're either flat-footed, on your heels, or on your toes at full tilt.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I'm going to be full tilt, which is full on in the business, live and breathe it day in, day out, 7 days a week, getting up at 5 a.m., getting back at 10 p.m. every day, I need an end goal so I don't burn out over that time.
Yeah.
And my end goal was to grow an awesome business, see people flourish and then to eventually sell. And I think my definition of success in recruitment in a business is if you sell, you've proven you've got a business that you've grown, you've created something that's now running without you, and someone else wants to buy it, which is my definition of a successful business. And I think it's very hard to be, I didn't want to be that guy that had a terrific work-life balance. Wasn't that inspiring, so it's quite hard to retain staff and expand. You keep that going until you're like 60 maybe, and then you sell for some small amount. I was like, I'm going to go full on as hard as I can for the next 10 years, going to hit this goal. And then when I start flagging, I'm going to give my Olympic torch, as it were, to the next runner, which is Jim, who can then take it on. And it was definitely towards the end.
The sacrifices to that, isn't there? Like you say, you're not exercising.
Yeah.
You're not seeing your family enough.
Yeah.
We talked about in the last episode, like, there's a sacrifice to that relationship.
So along that way, I got divorced. Health probably did start taking a decline to some point where I think there was one point I had 8 officers all reporting to me, and I was fully stretched trying to get to each office all the time. I think, I remember one week I did summer conferences, and it was more cost efficient for me to go to each office in the summer instead of getting all the offices together. So just my cost is much better. Just doing those one flights. So I think it was a Wednesday, I went to the UK office, London office, did a presentation there, went out with the London team until midnight, whatever. Next day, woke up early, hungover, flew to Germany, Munich, did the whole presentation again, went out with the German office till like midnight again. I think even Chris, my German director at the time, said, I've got us a table booked at Pasha. I'm like, oh my God. And then went there to like 2 or 3 a.m, got up again at 6 a.m. to go to Paris on Friday, did a presentation again, went out with the Paris office, like woke up again Saturday morning. By this time I'm just like,
you're giving everyone the same energy.
But I'm like absolutely spent. And I think there's only a limited time you can kind of do that. And then I did obviously start, once we could get bigger cash reserves, put in place senior management teams, things like that. And then so then I got to the position where I could then step away, and people said, is it difficult stepping away? Like in terms of like, you go from that to, but for me, without sounding like a massive cliche, is a massive cliche. I'm all or nothing. I'm either fully in or fully out. Like that, I can't do an in between. And I do think an in between is good, because if you're doing an in between, you're not really trusting someone to run it for you. So for me, it was like fully getting out and then stepping away, and then, like I do with anything in life, I'm probably a bit full tilt now into life with my kids. I've got a big project in Sandbanks. Seems to be getting.
Didn't you buy the most expensive house in the world?
That's what the sun said. I'm actually in Lad Bible as buying the most expensive house in the world, which is clearly a mistake. But I bought again what the Sun claimed as a bungalow, which actually does have a top floor. But I bought an amazing plot in Sandbanks. It was a lot of money, but it's got so much potential, and it's a massive project. And
per square meter most expensive?
Something like that. I think it's the most per square meter most expensive house in the world.
And you're going to revamp.
Probably means I got conned.
I've done that.
So at the moment I'm looking to redevelop it. It's a big project of mine. So that's something that I can get my teeth into, and gives a bit of purpose kind of doing that. I bought a place in the Alps, I've done a couple of business investments, and now I'm just enjoying doing challenges. I've done a lot of charity work. It's good to give back a bit. I spend a lot of time with my kids. So take them to lifeguarding and rugby and school. And
So how do you set your week up then? Give us an example of what a normal week would look like.
A normal week.
Maybe there isn't such thing, but let's say you're at home in the UK.
Yeah.
What's a week like?
Well, I tend to make up for the fitness I lost, I guess, when I was running a company. So I am quite into fitness. I'll do probably like an hour and a half fitness every day. So I'll plan that into the day. But generally, every other weekend, I've got my kids. Then I'm Tuesday nights, Wednesday nights, got the kids. So I'm taking them to school.
Where are they? Are they local?
In the morning. Yeah. So, I mean, by the time I've actually taken them to school, got back, and then gone to pick them up again.
Yeah, there's not
like, I'm almost like a single dad mode in that respect. Then got the hour and a half exercise in. I'm doing some consulting work to 3 different clients, so quite enjoying that. And I'm quite often on the phone to them. I'll probably get overly involved with that. Sandbank's just constant back and forth with the council of planners, architects, stuff like that.
So it's a proper job managing this development.
All the time. I've got a place in the Alps, so working on that.
You're building that as well? So
no, I've done some bits to it, but even then, it's just maintaining it all is it's kind of full-time job in itself.
Do you not pay people to manage them?
I do a bit, but you still end up being involved. I have a new partner, girlfriend, so getting time with her, just enjoying life.
It's crazy. It is. It's not many people can do this in their 40s, right? It's normally the later. And I did a post last week about longevity.
Yeah.
And I'm approaching 40, 38. And I don't think I've ever really thought about longevity. It never really went into my mind. It was like, just get on with what I'm doing. And the last couple of I stopped drinking in December last year.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, well, I didn't even have a big relationship with it. Like, it wasn't like I was out drinking every week, but I just thought my life's pretty good.
Yeah.
What's it going to be like without that one thing that pisses me off? If my headaches, my hangovers, my mood, I'll just get rid of it and see how I feel. And it wasn't an intention to quit forever. And I still don't know if I will, but 1 month was pretty cool. And then I've just carried on. And I've absolutely loved this year. It's been amazing. But like approaching, I don't know if it's approaching 40 or what, but it's becoming something I'm really passionate about. Yeah. Thinking, how can I feel better? Yeah. Look better, but also carry on for longer. So how do you, does that?
Well, I'd say, so on the longevity, I also am very much into that as well. I mean, I love life. And probably like you, I want to stay as fit and healthy as long as possible. And it's not like, if you're going to live to, say you're going to live to 150, it's not like being, it's not being decrepit for the next 70 years of your life, but it's like hopefully extending your 40s to your 60s, your 50s to your 70s and so forth. So I study a guy called David Sinclair. He's like Harvard's expert in longevity. Really? So I follow all his supplements and everything like that. I do a monthly IV drip on that subject as well.
What does that do?
I'm not sure if it does anything. It's about but I know it's NAD, which is a supplement prescribed by David Sinclair, which is supposed to, again, aid, supposed to reduce aging, like slow it down effectively. The trouble is, it's one of those things you can't measure. No. So I don't know if it's making a difference. It costs a lot of money, and I get a needle put in my arm each month, which is not great.
Do you feel like it's like? Do you feel good though? Do you feel any different?
I feel good. I feel great. Like I say, I would hate to be that guy who's sort of doing a 9 to 5 job, but squeezing in an hour or two of life balance. For me, it was all about hit work as hard as you can, get out, create something amazing, which we have, and the team are amazing. They're going to do amazing things, and Jim, we've got a real succession, I guess, now again, and that mentality of succession. With Jim now, starting to think about the next CEO after him, and that next CEO could be, in a couple of years' time, running a 1,000 people company, billion turnover business. Wow. It's a real kind of feel like you've created this animal that's now that's is now
Proceed
without
with you,
me,
yeah.
and you can live your life how you want to live it. So yeah, I'm sounding like I feel like I'm sounding like a total badass. So,
No, you're not.
Everything's great.
But this is your life, right? And this is what I think I've seen from the outside on your Insta, and I'm like I say, is it as good as it looks? Like,
yeah,
I guess
it's not bad. I mean, it's taken a lot of work, and even my ex-wife is an amazing person. You know, obviously getting divorced, people always end up falling out, but we're almost like best friends now. Yeah, it's taken a lot of work.
You got kids though, right?
We got kids.
That's the key. If you didn't have kids, you wouldn't need to be.
Even when I was single, I used to go around and sit there with her and her husband hungover, saying about the date I'd just been on, and it was like my mum and dad. They came out with their son for Christmas for me and the kids last year in the Alps.
Wow.
So I think for me, I think the biggest thing for me has always been about harmonious relationships. And I've really kind of pushed that.
Don't burn bridges, kind of.
And yeah, and again, without sounding completely cliche, it's not just the money. The money enables you to have a life and is worth working for. But if you can have enough money, it allows you to be generous to other people, give away. I think a lot of happiness comes from that. And when I sold, I helped out my family, gave them lump sums, and I felt really good, and the staff payout as well, obviously. But also just doing a lot for charity now. I do a lot for I did a lot for charity called Julia's House. I'll do some more in the future as well. Along with challenges I enjoy doing. So I did Everest in the Alps, where it's learning a new skill. So it's learning how to ski tour, and then it was climbing the height of Everest in Verbier, staying in mountain huts, skiing down, climbing up until you've done Everest in the heights. It was about 4 or 5 days. A really cool experience. I did it with a couple of friends, and things like that. I just would never have had time to do, or the money to. I mean, to be honest, until I sold, I was always pretty broke because everything I got
went back.
Just kept going back in. And I don't think you can really scale a recruitment business where you're paying yourself a lot of money and taking a piss and not leading from the front, because as soon as you do that, everyone is going to look at you and think, either I don't want to work for this guy, or
he's doing
he's not making any inspiration. We'll end up leaving, potentially even doing their own thing, or joining a competitor or whatever. I think it's got to be full send all the time, and it's hard. But I think anyone who says, scaling a business, how do you do with a work-life balance it's really difficult. I
think it's about making a decision. Like my business now is just under 15 staff, and I don't actually want it to be any bigger. I'm not interested. I think when I met you, I was really excited about growth. We got to like 40 people, and then I was like, it actually didn't serve the life I want. So I've got a wife, I've got a baby, I've got 2 stepkids. I've now relocated up here. I left London. My business is remote. We're able to create a really really valuable business, but without it doesn't need to be massive for me. But I've accepted that. I think the challenge is when people think they still want the big growth, but they're not prepared to behave that way. I think it's about acceptance.
I think in recruitment, one of the biggest threats that people really think about or pay attention enough to is staff leaving, setting up their own business. When we sold, we had 450 staff. If 450 staff had all left and set up their own businesses, each business would be worth nothing, but collectively it's worth a lot. So the key in recruitment is holding it together. And I always get, unlike your business here, your business is based a lot on connections, and that's what you bring to the table. So as staff member, if we can leave and just open a business in competition, wouldn't have your connections and yours. But in recruitment, people can start their own business quite relatively easily. It's always going to be difficult scaling it. So
you've got to incentivize them enough to stick around, right?
Well, I'm not that into football, but I look a lot at football teams and how they're managed, and it reminds me a lot of recruitment. And the team I was always really inspired by was Alex Ferguson's Manchester United, and he had a team that seemed to always be striving to get better, and had that thirst for excellence, and everyone wants to be a part of it. But as soon as you get a team that's kind of like taking their foot off the gas or going down, everyone starts jumping ship.
Of course they do.
So I always had that paranoia that everyone's going to jump ship. So for me, I had this constant drive that I wanted to be pushing it forwards. Do you
think fear of failure was as big, if not bigger, than the ambition?
I think fear of failure was a part of it. But a constant pressure on myself to make sure everyone's happy, everyone's got a clear career path. I'm creating opportunities for everyone, because if I didn't create those opportunities, they would leave me. And that was your job. And it's still very much the mentality in the company to push people internally, to grow internally. We have more of a mentality of taking on our own talent and nurturing them and then bringing them through. I think too many companies always think for some reason external talent can be better than what they've got. So it's more about giving the opportunities and the jobs to people within the company and pushing them through.
Looking at the clients you're working with and what's happened over the last couple of years, because you are right, the hockey stick was mental after the pandemic, but then the last 18 months to 2 years has not been. It's been very difficult. A lot of businesses going bust. A lot of businesses. The one thing I'm hearing the most is LinkedIn licenses when you're on the way up are easy to acquire. They're not very easy to shed when you're on the way down. So people are shedding headcount, but still paying for licenses with bullhorns. But LinkedIn's the one where, like, I know a client who went from 60 to 6 employees, and they're paying for 60 LinkedIn recruiter licenses.
A message from today's episode sponsor, Untapped. Untapped are the market leader and go-to agency for finding and hiring elite offshore talent into the UK, US, and Australian-based recruitment agency market. Now, I don't partner with sponsors I don't believe in myself, and Untapped are someone I've personally used to build the team at Hoxo, and it's been a game changer. No one else we've worked with can compete with both the quality of the network and the time to hire, and the impact they've had on our business has been insane. From hiring, from consulting, from advice, they're a premium team that you can trust, and you're guaranteed to access a network of top-tier international talent that could be right for your business. Look, they interview over 3,000 candidates and put them through a 4-stage interview online every single month, and they only represent the top 1%. So you're going to get a thorough service at speed. So if you're looking at international hiring where you're looking at getting up to 70% less in terms of cost for equivalent UK member of staff in both recruitment and back office roles, then it's a complete no-brainer. All right, you're going to love it. So they are currently showing a waiting list for their next cohort of hiring, and it's almost full. If you'd like to join the waiting list, then click on the link in the show notes and take it from there. Good luck.
So what I guess, I know you're not necessarily invested in everyone's businesses, but you've got a few clients, still got, what have you seen, and guess what challenges have people faced that you've been dealing with?
I think challenges have always been the same, is holding on to your top talent and recruiting good talent. But
do you think the market's as bad as people think, or
no? I think everyone had it easy after COVID, and I think as a result of a good market, it can create bad habits. So I think sometimes it's just going back to basics. In terms of, I've never really been in a situation where we've gone significantly back in headcount. I've always had this mentality of one person leaves, you're trying to replace them with 2 people, so you're always pushing it forward. So I can't really advise or know of the stories about LinkedIn, and that does sound like a nightmare. I remember always thinking going into a big office, a big fear of mine is if we shrink, then so the costs per head are going to go up and up and up, and then it's going to, as a result, it turns into a reciprocal a cycle, because then you can't afford then to take on staff because your cost per head is going up so much. So for me, it's always trying to maintain that headcount. But working harder on your internal recruitment, replacing weaker performers, so keeping that pressure on that performance and a high performing culture, and just knowing that it's a big industry out there. So there's still loads of business out there. It's about just stealing it off the competition, and driving that mentality, that positive mentality in staff. I think too many people start blaming bad markets and
government.
Well, just anything, whilst there's always opportunity, and there's always new markets as well. You're always pushing new markets and trying new markets and new territories. And we've got great growth by opening, even during the last couple of years where people have shrunk. We've opened a Berlin office. We've opened a Miami office. Got some big growth out of that. So I think I would say it's more mentality based than anything else.
Yeah. Moving into mentality then, your kids, and as a father then, like, I've been speaking a lot about this recently, like being a stepdad of 2 kids at 11 and 9, and I've got a baby now. You know, I mean, I'm nowhere near you.
Congratulations on the baby.
Thank you, mate.
Yeah, but how old's the...
She's a year old and 2 weeks.
Amazing.
I've just had the first weekend with her, so I spent the last 3 days, my wife was in Budapest on a girls' do.
Yeah.
Daddy daycare on my own. I mean, I'm with her every day. I live around the corner, and I work at home most of the time, so I'm always there. But my wife is very, she's an amazing woman who takes over, and you know, she's breastfeeding, and she's just like, her friends call her like Mother Earth, like she's proper into it. So I didn't realise what I didn't do until this week. I was like, I haven't done any of these things, but I loved it. She's amazing. She's called Aries, she's a little girl. She's
amazing.
And but it's made me really think, like, I know the background I had was from we didn't have any money, so I don't even know where my drive came from, but I know it's always been to get away from previous experiences and to try and create something new. And then now that I've got kids, I'm like, and again, I'm not at your level, but I am providing them a life where they've spent a month in Dubai this year. We've been to Greece, we've been to Peru, we've been to Miami. We're doing these cool things, and I'm trying to take them on this journey with me.
Yeah.
But I'm fearful that I'm going to create kids that are entitled, that are like soft and just think that things are easy. And because I didn't get on a plane till I was like 10 years old. My 9-year-old stepson's been on like 50 flights or something in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what's yours? Because you now are providing a life that looks insane, right?
Yeah.
So how are you going to keep these kids grounded? And do you think about that? Is it something you...
Yeah, I do actually. It's a tough one. Because they've had a good life, and came to Costa Rica surfing.
How old are they?
Greece windsurfing, 13 and 11. So they're good ages, because you can just do something.
And 2 lads who they seem to like the similar sort of things that you like, right?
Really skiing in Chamonix all the time. So yeah, it does worry me slightly. But I think it's just that constant messaging to the kids that how lucky they are. It's just normal. Keeping them basic on chores, things like that. It's telling them constantly that you're not going to leave them anything, that I'm going to spend every pound that I've made.
Have you read the book, Die with Zero?
No, but I always believe he dies and most deals wins. So
I'm literally reading a book now called Diary with Zero, and you should read it. It's incredible. And it basically talks about that. It says like,
exactly. I mean, if you die a couple of million in the bank, what's the point?
I think inheritance. It kind of. I'm not through the book yet, but it implies that inheritance is kind of put to one side. If you die and then just leave a load of money in your bank for people to take, you've basically just wasted life experience. Whereas putting money away for people is a sensible move, but that should be to one side.
Yeah.
So you're letting them know that they're gonna have to do it.
Yeah. So I think it's like this. You've got this amazing life, but you're gonna have to pay for this yourself in the future if you want it. And you're gonna have to work for it. And I totally believe that. I really don't think happiness comes from being given money. It's about making it yourself.
I agree.
Without sounding again cheesy, the reward wasn't so much getting the paycheck at the end of selling LHi. The reward was in the journey there. It's the same if you imagine the World Cup. If you kicked off the World Cup day one and gave England the World Cup without fully playing any team,
you got like a bag and just won it.
Yeah. Well, that was easy. Where was the
memories?
Where's the highs, the lows, and everything it gave you? So I think pushing them on that. One thing I've done with them a couple of times. I think this is a great thing, and you're probably a way better first one. And by no means trying to say you should do this to your kids, but it's where my kids. I've taken quite a few times to card boot sales where we do a card boot sale. So we go, we take everything that we take from the house, we put it out, and they have to sell the stuff, and then with the profit they make, so say it's £5 each, you give them £5 and say, right, you got £5, no more. You'll go around and see what you can get and come back and show me. And and it's them going around and teaching them to barter with people and the value of money and things like that. I think that's been something that actually has a really cool effect on them.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
Both weirdly. I mean, the last time I did it was a couple of years ago, so they were 11 and 9. They came back with 2 swords, like proper swords. And I was like,
what were we going to do with that?
A, how did you get a sword with a fiver? And B, who the fuck sold you a sword?
That's a bit dangerous.
But yeah, really cool skills I think to learn, like just value of money, business skills like bartering and things like that.
Do they already say to you what they want to do? Like, do they identify jobs or?
No, really. But my eldest again, he seems to have from that he's got this kind of entrepreneurial side. He when he got this sword, I don't know whether to reprimand him or celebrate him, but. Yeah, I picked him up from school and he just got a mobile phone. He's gone to senior school and just got a mobile phone, which I'm a bit against, but it's another subject. But and he said, "Daddy, can we go to Winchester on Saturday because I'm meeting a guy who's gonna buy the sword off me." And I was like,
"How the hell have you got this?
What?" And he's like, "Oh yeah," he said, "Don't tell Mummy, but a flyer came through her door for an antique dealer." So I took it into school, and at lunchtime I phoned the antique dealer. I described the sword, and I've negotiated £1,000 for my sword.
That is pretty. You got to commend that.
And like you should never take anything from Mummy's house without telling her. You know, they'd be dishonest. But you should be meeting a stranger.
No.
And but also part of me is like proud, you know, like at 11 years old, I would not have had the confidence to phone someone and be bartering with them and see I'm like, mate, it's not worth £1,000. So whatever this guy told you is complete bullshit.
So what happened? Did you go with it?
I didn't actually take him. I said like, we're not doing this. But maybe I should. But yeah, so he seems to be tempted. We're gonna do that.
What's the? I guess I've got an 11-year-old and a 9-year-old. So what's that jump like? 12 and 13. What have you noticed change?
We're just definitely 13-year-olds now wanting parties. So I think about girls and and becoming a bit less sort of cuddly, a bit cooler. And, so make you all look forward to. I actually showed him. The Bible the other day. I showed him Van Wilder. Remember that?
Of course. That's right, I remember.
Kid, yeah. Classic parenting. But yeah, watching better films is also a big plus.
Yeah, I was in Miami the other week, and we were the TV. I don't know. Honestly, the US is like going back in time. I think fucking. You think about it, it's like this modern country, but actually, it's fucking really dated. In this hotel, like Hilton, and like. It hasn't even got Netflix. I'm like, who hasn't got fucking Netflix? And
that's so weird.
Airbnb in Peru had Netflix.
Yeah.
And like, that hasn't even got a bloody running water tap. And this one, anyway, so we go on like the US TV and they've got Deadpool and Wolverine, the new film.
Yeah.
So the kids are like, we watch it. And I was like, yeah. And then I put it on and within 5 minutes I realised this is not a kid's film. Like, this is like an 18. So we had to turn it off. And I was like, I was good. I actually wanted to watch it. I was like, I'm really looking forward to it.
I love some movies.
We've watched some films that are like borderline 15s and stuff. Like they love Daddy's Home. I don't know if you've seen Daddy's Home with like Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg.
And you get
epic. And it's like, obviously because I'm the stepdad and they've got their dad's on the scene and we're like pretty close now, me and the dad, and getting well. And Wahlberg's the cool dad like their dad, the real dad, and I'm the stepdad like Will Ferrell. So we've watched that about 100 times, which is very funny. Well, I think that we're going through a stage now where, because when I met them, they were 6 and 8.
Yeah,
they were babies. Like they wanted to do everything with us, and every night they just wanted to be around. And it was, it's quite overwhelming for me because I've gone from when I spoke to you, I was married in London, got divorced, reconnected with an old flame.
Yeah,
within 6 months of properly dating her, I met these kids, and I'm gone from living in a flat in Manchester with my dog to living in Sheffield with 2 dogs, 2 kids.
Amazing.
It was unbelievable, but at the same time overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I don't think I really appreciated how amazing 2 kids at that age were at the time. It was almost a bit like clingy, and I didn't really know what to do.
Yeah.
Whereas I can see it's changing now.
Yeah. Oh, I can see so much.
They're starting to not, like you say, they're starting to go to their rooms more and play on devices, computers, and Like my little girl yesterday, my wife's in Budapest, my parents were around, I'm doing a barbecue because the weather's still nice. And the kids are just like in their rooms, not bothered. The little girl's running up and down on a little walker. And they're in their room and I was like...
it gives you so much more depth to life, I think, having kids around and that family feel, you know, and I think, having a family is, it's amazing. And I highly recommend it to anyone.
But your life, I remember we spoke, was like... Because you said I've got everything in some ways, but in other ways I'm still single, and it's like a crazy lifestyle. How do you feel about that? Obviously, you're in a relationship now. How are you feeling about that balance? As you, like you say, in your age and when you're...
I think at the time you said, you're successful or whatever. And I was like, am I successful? I'm divorced, and so arguably, I would say I wasn't at that time, but I think since then I kind of got life back on track. I feel successful in terms of I've got strong relationships now. I've got an amazing partner. Excited to see where things go with her, and an amazing relationship with my ex-wife, amazing relationship with kids, and I have them more. And now, if I have more kids, I kind of feel like maybe I did have something to prove as well. I did the business. Maybe there's an ego thing there as well. That I feel like I feel very comfortable in my own skin. So I feel like I could be a stay-at-home dad, wear a pinny, and love it, cook pancakes for the kids every morning and take them to school, and I'd be super happy just doing that. Like I don't feel like I'm trying to prove anything.
But that's because you've achieved what you've achieved, though, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe. So maybe I'd say that if I hadn't achieved that, then I wouldn't be in this position. But I think by doing that has enabled me to be successful, feeling a lot more successful than when I last saw you. Last saw you, I'd say I was running at a 5 out of 10 success. Now I feel like more like a 8 to 9.
It just showed that money actually wasn't the whole piece. For some people it is, but actually when you unlock, what do people say, like when people are dying, like they don't sit there and count their bank account or talk about their...
I know.
Talk about
Steve Jobs always famously said it always came down to his health and relationships. Which I think is totally true. What I would say though is, if you're an active person and you enjoy life, which I do, money does enable you to do the things you enjoy, and it also enables you to give back more. I think, which I think is a form of happiness. Dopamine. We'll do things that for the dopamine hit, and for me, that's being given back as well.
We spoke before about you literally barely slept last night. You were at Michael Jackson and you're in London and doing all these cool things. You were up in Sandbanks doing a run, and then
for the records, I'm not really into theatre, but Michael Jackson musical worth the go. It's like getting a concert. I mean, it's bloody amazing. Thriller scene, epic.
Well, the girl I used to work for me in recruitment, her son played the mini Michael.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's not anymore because he's older now, but they obviously replace it every year, don't they?
That must be a nightmare part because you're going to get replaced.
You do. See you later.
Sorry.
And he changes his colour and race after about a certain age, so you can't even keep the same kid probably. But what my question was, like, how are you managing that? Because I did get a sense that you were burning the candle at both ends even when we met last time, and you enjoyed that, but there's an element of fatigue with that.
I still do. I've always had high energy. I seem to be able to cope with little sleep, and I am always ambitious in my time, so I tend to just naturally pack a lot in. Everyone always jokes that I'm always a little bit late. I think I made it within like 2 minutes.
Yeah, I
had lunch, so I think panically texted me and said, "You are coming." Yep, I'll be there. But even last night I took my kids to the Michael Jackson musical. I got home at 2 a.m. in the morning, but I'd arranged for the mate to go for a run at 7. I don't want to bail on him because I was like, it's important to get the exercise in. And I was thinking then I've got to do that and then go kind of straight up here basically to make this. So I do tend to pack it in, but
I
will give myself the odd lie-in and things like that. And like I say, I'm very much into these supplements and longevity. And
sleep is a big connector though, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I've got what have you seen, the Whoop? I've got the Whoop. Yeah. So like I've had a year now. No, I got it in January after I quit the booze. I thought I'm going to get something else. And obviously I've had my baby since October. So It's been tracking my sleep with a baby in the room every night. And actually, she's in the bed now. We've got sleep coach starting with us on the end of the month.
Yeah.
She's been in the bed for since she grew out of her next to me crib, she's been right between us. And like she elbows me in the head and headbutts me and all sorts. It's crazy. But I've not had really more than 6 hours sleep once this year. I think twice. Wow. I've hit 100% sleep once in Peru when I went to bed at like 7 p.m. and
How do you notice it? When you...
I don't know, I think I'm used to it, but I'm also a bit fearful that sleep is one of them factors to longevity that is maybe the one I'm neglecting the most.
Yeah.
Does that go through your mind?
I'm aware of it, and again, I've kind of, again, with spare time, I listen to podcasts and things like that and sleep, and I do a lot of things now that help me. I've never been a great sleeper. I kind of tend to have an active mind.
Yeah.
I think tend to find when everything quietens down, my mind always gets more active. So I've always struggled to sleep. So I really worked at looking at how to get a good night's sleep, as stupid as it sounds. Because again, time is precious and you can't get more time. So if you're trying to get more in a day, you just want better quality sleep. So you're having magnesium supplements and stuff while you sleep, cold room, dimming all lights down before you go to bed, getting off phones and things like that, and working on your breathing as you kind of get into bed. Really a massive advocate for all of that.
For you, it's the quality rather than the amount of time.
Yeah. And then as soon as you wake up, it's trying to get natural light in the room as soon as possible. That kind of wakes you all up and everything.
You were a fan of cold plunges? Or?
So I am also. So I actually have a cold dip in my front.
I've recently my wife got me one of them Lumi. 55 quid, but I've got one in the garden. I've been going in it, not every day, but I've been trying. And there's one just down the road, there's a place where you can do sauna and cold therapy. Yeah. And it's like 2 degrees, proper cold.
So they do say, again, that's a huge thing for longevity, cold dipping. In fact, they say aging is the aggressive pursuit of comfort.
I've literally heard that. I was going to say it. I've heard that quote this week so many times.
Yeah, I've also heard the same guy. And
I think it's Gary Brecker, isn't it?
Gary Brecker, yeah. So I listen to Gary Brecker stuff a lot. You should listen to David Sinclair if you have.
Yeah, I know. I've come across him, but I probably recognise him. Gary Brecker's podcast is awesome.
But so I try and do 3 minutes in the cold dip as much as possible, and I use that way more than a hot dip or sauna. I mean it is hard. Yeah. But you kind of feel really good after.
Yeah. So I've tried meditation. My brother's really into it. I never got to a point with it. I've probably not done it enough. But I feel like this kind of hijacks you into a state of silence in the mind because you can't think about anything. You just can't think about it. You're impossible.
You just get into
and I thought my cold plunge was cold at like 15 degrees, and then I went to Peru, and I'm staying in this amazing Airbnb complex with like 8 places and a pool in the middle. And my brother said, look, the climate in the valley of Peru where he lives is like, it's cold at night, it's hot in the day and cold at night, and the water never gets hot. So he said, your pool will be cold. So I was like, I just got my cold plunge. I was like, I'm going to see. Anyway, jumped in first day. I was like, wow, fucking freezing. And I lasted a minute. Yeah. And then over a 9-day period, I got to 5 minutes on the last day. Wow. But then I thought that was cold. So then I go to the cold plunge centre here. First one was 8 degrees, got in, I was like, that's Peru. Yeah. So I was like, I did a couple of minutes easily. I was like, yeah, that's Peru temperature. And then I went and sat in a 2 degrees one.
2 degrees?
Yeah. Oh my God. And I lasted a minute.
I should try that. I mean, mine says 7 degrees. Yeah. I find that hard. I do 3 minutes.
2 made my feet like instantly, like it was being just stabbed. And I was like, well, apparently, like, you know, it's going to be like that soon, isn't it? Yeah. Where we live up here, I mean, by December, your cold plunge will have an icy lid on it, naturally.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in Sandbank, so I get snow down there.
How much different is it down there, climate-wise?
I think it is quite. I mean, again, I haven't been north of London. I've been north of London about 3 times in my life. There's just the sea air. It never snows. You don't really get ice because it's just the salt air. I think just.
Harry Redknapp lives down there, right?
He's 2 doors away from me. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, 2 doors down.
Do you speak to it?
No, I mean, the weird thing is when I bought Sandbanks, he was one of the people bidding against me for the property.
Really?
So yeah, it was.
Beat Harry Redknapp.
It was.
There you go, stick that. Have that. Is there anyone else down there that you've networked with that are interested?
There's some really interesting guys. There's actually, I mean, I don't know if you're into outdoor pursuits at all or did you get Osprey bags?
No.
So you'll see them everywhere now, Osprey. But the founder of Osprey.
Is that the brand?
Yeah.
Osprey. I'm literally, that's my denim shirt is Osprey, which I'll tell you.
Yeah, well, he lives just a few doors down as well. He sold that. There's the owner of Learn Direct, which is a big learning platform.
Yeah.
A couple of doors down from me again is a guy, really good guy called Simon, who sold his business to Facebook, like an AI kind of intelligent software.
How would you get to know these people? Is there any like networking stuff going on?
So there was it was actually the King's coronation when I moved in, literally the week after I moved in, so I actually got to meet the whole neighbourhood. I was always a bit sceptical on Sandbanks. I was a bit like, Sandbanks, it's a bit kind of like wanky and,
snooty or whatever you think.
And it's really bad because even I think this. Like, I don't know why, but sometimes I think you think successful people, they're gonna be wankers, and I don't know why, but it's just such a ridiculous thought process. And
well, most people get to success by being
great
people,
good people, which is one of the. I mean, we'll get a whole different argument here, but one of the massive, the one of upsides of capitalism and private sector is you have to run a good business and you have to be a good guy for people to want to work for you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you don't, you're going to die.
Yeah.
Type of thing. So I actually find generally like people being very successful, like a lot of people have on Sandbanks to live at this expensive place to live. They've all got really good stories and really interesting people. And so I've actually met some fascinating people and a really good neighbourhood. Like it's opened my eyes to a lot of things and connections and things like that.
Do they have any networking events or is it just bars and people meet?
Bars and but just swapping numbers when we met at that event and staying in touch and doing cool things and even introductions from that into like business ventures that they're doing or different things. So it does definitely kind of raise the bar in terms of your networking and things like that.
Yeah. What is your approach to alcohol out of interest? Obviously, I'm not drinking, but no judgment. But how do you approach it?
It's difficult. I love wine. I love a glass of wine with dinner. But I wouldn't say I don't drink every night. Yeah. I always try at least have at least 3 nights in a row during the week to not drink. That should be really easy. But just make sure you have 3 in a row. Apparently, if you have 3 days off in a row, your liver starts healing itself, things like that. So I would say, but I still do have the odd wild night where I drink quite a lot and socialise, and I tend to go to. I do find it hard. I think alcohol is you either got to be almost completely off it or completely in it. Like you go to a party and if you say, I'm just having one, people are like, oh, come on. But if you say,
that's how I find.
If you say I don't drink or I'm not drinking for October or whatever, it's easy. It's a lot easier.
Yeah, I genuinely think the feeling I have is like, I don't have to think about whether I'm going to have that drink tonight. I don't have to think about it. It's like, it's gone. And it used to be a thing that played in my mind a lot. How many am I going to have that? I'm going to have 3 or 4. Probably should I have more? How's it going to affect me tomorrow? That used to play a lot on my mind.
Yeah.
But I don't know how I'd feel if I was in your position where I've got to get up the next day for work right now. I've got a young family. It's very dependent. It could come crashing down. Yours is a little bit more stable, a bit more freedom.
I can see how if people were lonely or had no hobbies or whatever, they would maybe go to alcoholism or whatever. But again, I think because I do triathlons and I've got the sports side, I'm very wary of that and the longevity as well.
Does it affect you mentally though the next day?
Yeah, definitely. If I drink, I definitely feel it the next day. I think in your sleep, you kind of like wake up quite a lot. Forget like 3 P's on the night. Maybe it's just my age.
No, definitely. Do you get that like negative slant though, or are you still able to stay? Like my business partner, I'm all drinking. They'll just do like, he knows it's like part of the process. He's just like, it's a chemical. It'll go. It doesn't affect him. What is it with me? I start questioning things a bit too much, and it's like it's like a slump I get myself.
I think you can always feel a little bit down. It's like almost like a dopamine high when you're drinking. But I think people quite often say when you're using chemicals to get dopamine high, that is depleting your reserves, and you're gonna make up for it a day or so later. I mean, I'm not. I didn't do drugs, but people say I think people who do on a Saturday night is it Suicide Tuesday where they get really low a couple of days later. So I think everything's in balance, you know, and for me, I do it in moderation. Have drinks with friends. It's quite a social thing, and I enjoy it, so I wouldn't give it up. I've never actually given up for more than a couple of weeks, which I probably should try.
That's the crazy thing with alcohol. It's like most people start at such a young age, and then it just becomes part of furniture.
Yeah.
Final question I've got one question that I've took from a previous guest. So every time a previous guest gives me new questions for the future. But my question for you would be just what is the future then? So for you personally now, obviously you've got projects, you're a keen father. Is there anything you want to achieve? Anything grand you want to do?
I just want to be a stay-at-home dad. Like, as uninspiring as that sounds.
Do you think more kids is on the cards in the future?
Yeah, I think, I love kids. And I think one thing that I feel robbed of was from the age of 24 to pretty well 40, I was full send at work. And a big part of that was, like I say, to have a lifestyle I have now, but part of that lifestyle is also to give my kids opportunities and security. I feel proud that they go to private school. You said earlier, how do you not turn them to brats? But they are quite lucky. While I was building that company, they went to state school, so they've seen the difference. They appreciate the private school.
Difference, yeah.
So for me, I feel a bit robbed of the time of when they're 3, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, cuddly ages and cute ages. And I quite often I was leaving the house when I was married, kissing my kids on their head when they're asleep, and then coming back and kissing them on the head when they're still asleep because they've
gone back to bed.
Yeah, gone back to bed. I generally feel like I've been robbed of that, and now I've got enough opportunities to get that back. So for me, it's
Would you change it?
Ooh, that's a really good question.
No.
Yeah. That is a question because every whole would say no, because then I didn't get that time for kids. But then if I had, I didn't think I would have been able to grow the business, give them security, and
you wouldn't be you either.
So I don't think I would. But I do regret not getting the time that I have for them. And also a big part of me is I really want to see LHi become £1 billion. I want to see Jim hand the flame to the next guy comes through, and to see that progress. I would hate it if once a while payout's done that the company starts nosediving, or which I don't think it will. It feels like it's in a good place, and so I really want. For me, that would, even if I got all my money out and I saw the company nosedive, that'd be a massive failure for me. I want to see it do really well. And
see the work, but the work you did at the time, which again, there's sacrifices which we've identified. I think you've set the foundation that it shouldn't go that way.
Yeah,
it's got a legacy that's going to grow. This is a question given to me by somebody else, right? And it's back to more of a recruitment question. I remember some of the stories you told us about, the changing of the house, the playing of noise in the background, the offices.
Yeah.
From a BD perspective, what's the most out of the box tactic you ever deployed to win a customer, to open up a door?
One of this is gonna sound off the wall.
That's why I asked.
One of the best BD things I ever did, which was a catastrophic mistake, was I sent a huge bulk mail merge. You do these mail merges on CRM systems, so it's like 1,000 customers, and the first sentence was "Dear," and it should have had XXX, and it will take their first name and put it in, so it personalizes each message. I somehow overwritten the first one, because the first one was going to a woman called Sarah, and I put Sarah over there, so it sent
to everyone,
to every single person, this message going, "Dear Sarah," like to Bruce, to Mike, to Ian, to anyone. So I'm going to do a send out of that. The response rate would be 2 or 3% or whatever. be very little. Most people ignore it, blah, blah, blah. On this mail merge, I think it was something like a 30% return, with everyone going,
complaining, I'm not Sarah.
Fucking dick. Like, you can't get my name right, let alone what else. I was like, oh my God. But because they got in touch, I think a nice guy, generally engagement going, I am so sorry, won't happen again. How are you? Yeah. And I started all these conversations. So, I mean,
you didn't try and pretend you did it on purpose, no?
No.
You didn't say that this is no.
No. I mean, but weirdly, I didn't get any of my other companies because I think it's good to get a reputation for constantly doing backward mail merges. But on the back of that, I've got multiple calls and meetings from doing that one thing. It's probably not a good.
But that's a mistake, isn't it? That's a mistake. It worked.
It's probably not a good answer to.
You can get loads of people.
So people like, oh my God, I was going to start sending like dodgy mail shots out now. But I think the big thing in that is just any kind of communication is good communication, and I think again is having that positive mentality. Even when someone complains, it's an opportunity to speak to them. It's an opportunity to turn it around and to create a relationship. And I think as long as you're a good guy, you're looking at a good service. It's half of it. It's a bit like the film Hitch, shock and awe. The only thing he really did was make introductions to people. Yeah. And that introduction is the hardest part of any BD. It's then you got to be a good BDer to then take on to the next level and offer a good service. So they want to use you and they'll recommend you. That getting that initial call, that initial meeting, is the hardest part. So I think it's anything you can do to get that initial meeting or that initial call.
Is that a film you enjoyed, Hitch?
Love that film.
Yeah, I love that film. Maybe like similar films.
Shock and awe.
Van Wilder and Hitch.
There you go.
And Gary Brecker. Tom, thanks so much for making the trip to somewhere you didn't even know. The sat nav got you here. Thanks to the sat nav in your vehicle. Thank you so much. Like I said, I've been waiting for this episode because I'm not just saying it. Like, honestly, the amount of references I get to our first episode, and it was, I think, a pivotal time because it was just before COVID. People were like on the buzz. If you remember the start of 2020, it was a really good start to a year, and then everything else just was doomsday. I feel like all my episodes after you were probably pretty doomsday. Like, fuck, how are we going to survive?
Well, like I said, I think it was good timing because I think I just stepped away. I just promoted Jim to CEO. We were trying to go for that sell, but then COVID hit, and then we kind of come through it now, and we've made that sell, and it's been good. At least I'm sitting here saying it all went crashing down. I'm not saying it all went crashing down and went the other way, but it's been a good story. Mate, so, thank you so much.
Thanks so much for coming. It's been a pleasure. If anyone wants to reach out to you, I'm sure they will. Are you interested in any more like NED gigs or anything at the minute?
I love working with people that I enjoy and have fun with, and are ambitious and driven, and I always feel like I can add a huge amount of value, but I'm limited time with my kids and everything else.
So someone's got to send you a good shock and awe email if they want.
A good shock and awe email. I mean, I work with 3 clients and I try to minimise it to that because I don't want to spread myself too thinly.
I reckon someone's going to get in.
So yeah, if anyone wants to.
Someone's listening, someone's going to get in.
Do a shock and awe message.
Mate, I wish you the best of luck, and I'm sure we'll get you on again in a few years and see how things develop.
Yeah, perfect.
Top man.
Cheers, Sean.
Cheers, Lee.
Thank you as always for listening to today's show. I truly hope that you got value from it. Honestly, it's the only reason I take time every week to ensure that my audience, you guys, future and existing recruitment owners, you're learning from each other to make this industry that I love so much stronger. And today's episode is brought to you by my business, Hoxo. I'm the CEO and founder, and we're on a mission to help brand recruitment agencies and their people better. I want to help people have the tools to stand out in the most competitive markets in the world. So I'll see you again next week with another episode. Catch you soon.